Hey guys, it's Malia
and Elise.
and we're back with the February Book of the Month selections.
So Book of the Month is a monthly subscription box. It's $14.99 a month, and you can choose one book for that, or you can add up to 2 extra books for $9.99 each.
So first, we have An American Marriage, and I think this one sounds super depressing.
Oh.
I've already read the synopses and cheated, she has not. But I think it sounds super depressing but really good. So here's what it's about. Newlyweds Celestial and Roy are the embodiment of both the American dream and the New South. He's a young business executive and she is an artist on the brink of an exciting career. But as they settle into the routine of their life together, they are suddenly ripped apart by circumstances neither of them could have imagined. Roy is arrested and sentenced to 12 years in prison for a crime Celestial knows he didn't commit. Though fiercely independent, Celestial finds herself unmoored, taking comfort in Andre, her childhood best friend, and Roy's best man at her wedding. As time in prison passes, she's unable to hold on to the love that has been her center. When, after 5 years, Roy's conviction is suddenly overturned and he returns to Atlanta ready to resume their life together, Celestial is faced with a soul-wrenching decision, whether to let go or try to rebuild a marriage that has lost its underpinnings. So far, reviews specifically highlight that it discusses racial inequality in America.
I was about to say, it's written by a woman of color.
Yes, and that's a big deal too because February is Black History Month. And so I think it'll be a really interesting portrait of decisions, but I think it will be depressing as all get out. Like, not going to be a light read.
Even though it looks light.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be like
It
a
looks very
fluffy
pretty.
romance. Looks very pretty, but she thought it looked dumb, so
Well, it says An American Marriage.
Whatever.
Sorry, I don't.
whatever.
Okay, next up we have Still Me by Jojo Moyes.
So before we started filming, I said that there was one book in this deck that I had strong negative feelings about. This is the one. In the first book, it was hugely controversial because this man is disabled, and then even though he is otherwise healthy and of sound mind, can't live as a disabled person and chooses to opt for assisted suicide. So it was heavily controversial for the fact that it essentially communicated to certain people that disabled life is not worth living. So shout out to all the people in wheelchairs. Jojo Moyes has lovely things to say to you. So I hate her, sorry, nothing personal, and will not read anything
She
has
hates
written.
her, but it's not personal. Okay. Louisa Clarke arrives in New York ready to start a new life, confident that she can embrace this new adventure and keep her relationship with Ambulance Sam. Oh, like from an ambulance. Okay.
That's a reference from the second book. I know
Okay.
because I hate read summaries of all of them on Wikipedia.
Blah, blah, blah. Confident that she can embrace this new adventure and keep her relationship with Ambulance Sam alive across several thousand miles. She has been hired by the super rich Gopniks, Leonard and his unhappy, much younger second wife, Agnes, and finds herself amid a never-ending array of household staff and hangers-on. But Lou is determined to get the most out of the experience and throws herself into her job and this very privileged New York life. Before she knows what's happening, Lou is mixing in New York high society where she meets Joshua Ryan, a man who brings with him a whisper of her past. As Lou tries to keep the 2 sides of her world together, she finds herself carrying secrets, not all her own, that cause a catastrophic change in her circumstances. And when matters come to a head, she has to ask herself, who is Louisa Clarke, and how do you reconcile a heart that lives in 2 places?
True.
I don't give a shit about that.
If I'm going to read something about a heart that lives in 2 places, it's gonna be this one.
Yeah.
That's much better. That one is not. Whatever, people like it. If you like the first 2 books, I'm really sorry that I am hating on them so hard. But if you did, this is supposed to be a really good 3rd book if you liked the first 2. So this one is ThePhilosophers Flight. 18-year-old Robert Weeks is one of the few men who practice empirical philosophy, an arcane, female-dominated branch of science used to summon the wind, heal the injured, and even fly. He's always dreamed of being the first man to join the U.S. Civil Corps Rescue and Evacuation Department, an elite team of flying medics. When a violent tragedy puts Robert's philosophical abilities to the test, he rises to the occasion and wins a scholarship to study philosophy at Radcliffe College, an all-women's school. At Radcliffe, Robert hones his flying skills and strives to win the respect of his classmates, a host of formidable and unruly women. So I really think it will be interesting because it's almost like a reverse of the status quo. So especially in the 1910s, women were allowed to do bupkis. And I think that by reimagining it where women had this power that men didn't have and men were excluded from it, I think it's like an interesting commentary that could potentially serve as some sort of like, see what you're doing to women? Can you relate to this main character?
That's
and
true.
I think that would be really interesting. Of course, it's possible it's terrible, but Book of the Month hasn't let me down yet. So I'm assuming it's very good and well done and will end up being a thought-provoking sort of experiment. What are your thoughts?
Ditto. I have none.
Well, you're gonna have to start talking a lot more, Elise.
We'll see if either of these inspire anything. The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna.
Ernst Albright, a former POW, comes home from the Vietnam War a changed and volatile man. When he loses yet another job, he makes an impulsive decision. He will move his family north to Alaska, where they will live off the grid in America's last true frontier. At first, Alaska seems to be the answer to their prayers. In a wild, remote corner of the state, they find a fiercely independent community of strong men and even stronger women. The long, sunlit days and generosity of the locals make up for the Albrights' lack of preparation and dwindling resources. But as winter approaches and darkness descends on Alaska, Ernst's fragile mental state deteriorates and the family begins to fracture. Soon, the perils outside pale in comparison to the threats from within. In their small cabin, covered in snow, blanketed in 18 hours of night, they are on their own. In the wild, there is no one to save them but themselves.
So if you like Alaska, if you like historical fiction, this is for you. That's all I have to say.
I feel like it's...
That's literally it.
I'm sure it's very good, but it doesn't immediately grab me.
No.
But it'll probably be one of those books where we're like, meh, and then everyone is like, oh my god, you have to read this, and then we'll read it and be like, oh, dang it, it's really good.
Yeah. Okay, so last up we have The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. Vermont, 1950. There's a place for the girls whom no one wants. The troublemakers, the illegitimate, the too smart for their own good. It's called Idlewild Hall. And in the small town where it's located, there are rumors that the boarding school is haunted. 4 roommates bond over their whispered fears, their budding friendship blossoming, until one of them mysteriously disappears. Vermont, 2014. As much as she's tried, journalist Fiona Sheridan cannot stop revisiting the events surrounding her elder sister's death. 20 years ago, her body was found dumped in the overgrown fields near the ruins of Idlewild Hall. And though her sister's boyfriend was tried and convicted of murder, Fiona can't shake the suspicion that something was never right about the case. When Fiona discovers that Idlewild Hall is being restored by an anonymous benefactor, she decides to write a story about it. But a shocking discovery during the renovations will link the loss of her sister to secrets that were meant to stay hidden in the past, and a voice that won't be silenced. Yeah, I'm not gonna read that one.
I think it sounds so good.
No, I think if you like murdery stuff like that, that sounds like it would be good. It sounds like it would be made into a movie.
Yeah,
also.
I think it would be a good movie.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because there's definitely that sort of history of all of these missing women in the 50s because people would just get rid of these people, or women would go to visit family, and that meant they got pregnant and then came back with no baby because it had been like adopted out or whatever. So I think it'll be super creepy and interesting because the history of those like all girls sequestered schools is creepy in general. So Elise, what would you pick this month?
I would actually pick this one, The Philosopher's Flight.
I would have a hard time.
What's it between?
Well, not this one. But these 3 all sounded really good. Yeah, I would just end up spending like $35 on books this month is what would happen. Which is fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, tell us in the comments below what your pick is this month.
And if you haven't signed up already, there is a code for a free book that you can use, and we'll put that in the comments, but it's YesPLZ, and you'll get a free book, and they're always running promotions. So if you do miss this month, you can sign up next month, but really go ahead and sign up this month. The selections are really great.
And don't forget to like this video and subscribe.